Mike is saying most people know now that a no is a no, but they don't stop to rape. They don't stop to force themselves, even with the understanding Yahore a no is a no. What do you think should be done? What is it that needs to change in the mind of a man so that I understand Yahore a no is a no?
I think this thing, first of all, it's a power struggle. It's all about power. Let me put it this way. Mina, I'm from a family where I was raised by umama. No timer, no other one, male figure kamuntu. Yimi nje umfana. My mother and my two sisters. Now, the way I was conditioned, if I may put it that way, was socialized.
Yeah.
Whatever we do, like we are not doing anything differently from us as women. They are part of us. So, mina ngikhule nje ngiyazi ukuthi okay. Mangena lapha na kufanele mangaqinonga ngicline. Washindishi ngipheke ngiyakwazi ukuziphekela ngafundisa ukuthi ne wash izimpahla zakho so that uhlale uneat. Ngifundisa kanjalo. And now the big elephant here ukuthi mawune pain as a man, how do you handle that? How do you deal with that? So mina at least I was afforded that opportunity to ukuthi I must express myself. Okay. Kubhlungu la. When I said, now I don't like this. I must at least I was allowed to go in card. So that process it helps ukuthi ungabe ne anger, ungareact. Instead you respond with situation ofesana nayo. Ngikhule kanjalo. But now mawuphuma ekhaya uhlangana na estrade obviously. Ziyenzakala. And I said, so it goes back to what untiro ayikhulu ukuthi na. The first teaching in ekhaya. So the big teaching here like you help to deal with whatever that is happening on the street. Namagani, obviously, you want to belong with okay nami. But the teachings, the base yako, you mustn't continue with this. When I said you see wrong in this, in doing this. So obviously I don't remember anyway. Honestly, I don't remember forcing myself to a woman in terms of raping her. I don't know how to do that.
But have you always had a yes before you proceed?
No, obviously. I would say it goes back to where you come from. I was lucky enough ukuthi umama abe there. And the son teach that thing with that sense of caring. You understand? That caring, that sense of caring, it stems from where ukwazi express. You understand? And that thing would allow you would ukhale. We are going to feel that next person. You understand? So I never had that thing would I must be aggressive in terms of me would tolerate whatever if you to this person.
Right. Sometimes it's not a matter of being aggressive, like Mike is saying. It's not a matter of aggressive. It's a matter of who juta cherry. You know, who juta cherry. Affects a abekar urile yes, but also the yes that you say utsuhili is not a yes.
No, sure.
Right. So I wanted to add on Hore. Most of the time, it's not just aggression.
Yeah.
It's also refusing the no.
Yeah.
Yes.
And finding other ways of proceeding. You know.
No, so I get that.
Yeah.
I get that. Obviously, I'm a god. And I said that's whatever, but not in a coercion way. You're forcing yourself to have.
Right, but isn't that rape? and I'm not asking you
Yeah,
only.
no, sorry.
I'm asking all
No.
of us.
Yeah.
Because she said no, ne? But we am God.
Yeah.
So that you end up.
You've been.
Because consent is when you say no freely
Yeah.
and voluntarily.
Yeah.
That's consent. So is that not rape? Tiro, what do you think?
I think nka tsho gape gore it's that type of psychological rape whereby a kere motho wa mo manipulator ka mantswe okay o re no wa gana mare ha o re no wa gana o tshore ntho e ka se e ba re yes bo re ya wa bona wa dumela ya no go re na re agree ka this thing already when so mo manipulate this particular person, and at the end of the day, because it's not something that comes naturally, it's forcefully, so it's not going to do its actual purpose that it's supposed to be done.
Right.
And then at the end of the day, psychologically mtholo mo lemaditse lo ena o lemetse la o sa bone
Right.
mare o lemetse.
Right. Sidwell, I'd like to come to you as a way of weaving everything that has been said. You are currently within ADAPT right now. You are working with men right now. In your work with boys, what is your experience? What do you find? What is it that's coming out in terms of working with boys?
Mematsilo, I think what the gentleman is talking about, we are still experiencing more or less the same issues, even when we work with young boys. Let me go back a bit. You spoke about the youth program. When I met ADAPT was facilitating youth program, classroom workshop.
Yeah.
Go one of the school morning can go there.
Right.
And I met ADAPT, and I remember very well I was doing grade 10. They would come to school, facilitate classroom workshops at GBV, where we would sit and unpack issues of GBV. And exactly what you're talking about, there will be groups, they will be facilitated by a male facilitator. It's mainly for boys. Will be unpacking issues, behaviors, how we view bana ba banyana. And at that time, there were two things they were dominating. They were taking place within our community. One, only this particular behavior, there are guys, they will just say, Asambe. And then those girls, they don't question that guy. They do as this particular guy says. So we grew up in that kind of environment. And there are those who are very manipulative. They would always persuade wanyana to a point molohoreng ugena dumela. It goes back to what you just indicated, hore udumela because ha khone hore no, and then that particular guy I dumele that no, I make a peace ilona. Boys are raised in an environment molohoreng they have been taught hore a no ya wana wanyana, it's not a no enough. You can still find other ways that you can manipulate that particular person. Yes, these young boys, they are raised in this particular community. When we work with young boys, we encounter these beliefs. What do you do? That's the language, and that is still the language that is still dominating even now. When we engage with these young boys, they still say that. It's the same as reaching a point and they engage, or they would reach a point and they would want to, or they engage sexually. Even older guys, they will tell you that thing on its own, it tells you the consent because how mamela boys or young boys or even older boys, when we engage with them, they will tell you ngamncenga ngambamba ngamiyeka ngamncenga ngambamba nge exen mangiloku ngimbamba khona nginika yokufa indication ahoro o beregister this whole belief, let the upbringing ele gore re godile ga yona gore you must persuade until okras was batla. But the consent that you spoke about, it's a consent ele gore it's not given freely, so it's not a consent. It goes back to the whole definition of we are committing an offense when we come with the mindset that we persuade sizomshashaya uzothamba ekseni uzonginika or hayi thomeri 2 this also behavior hayi return ntwana mawungamxosha akasitsamaye and asatsamaya harowadula you would always say no man mawuhlala uyanginika because ngeke uhlale la ungafuna ukulala nabo. These are the behaviors that we get on the ground when we engage with young boys and when we engage with older men. They resonate very well. The three gentlemen have a bua. The similarities, they are the same. How they grow up experiencing these issues, they are still taking place. But that on its own, Mematil, doesn't say we are completely not seeing a shift or we are not doing enough in terms of helping young other people to change their mindset. The reason why I'm saying that, Mematil, it goes back to how some of us joined this particular organization. We joined this particular organization because we met this organization through one of the programs they were facilitated. When we sat, we've realized there are certain things that we need to unlearn. Because to be honest, growing up, Alex, this is the culture and the behavior dominate. And the sad part, these are the behaviors they are celebrated by a number of men within our community. And the fact that they are celebrated, young boys, they are replicating these behaviors. They are dominating because time and time they talk about them. As you said, you go, you find a group of young boys. Badutuko kone, ko Alexandra, wadula wa mamela ntotse. More or less, it's all about banyan. It's all about these negative behaviors. This is the language that is dominating. It's the language it perpetuates the issue that gender-based violence. Time and time when we engage with these groups, facilitate the session, we put them in a space they speak freely so that we can understand where they come from, where these issues come from. Abuti spoke about the upbringing, so we try to dig deeper. But at this point, there's one of the things that it's even disturbing. It's the fact that they are headed by ban. These are houses they are child headed.
So basically what you are saying is family is not the same anymore.
It's not the same anymore.
And when we say family must intervene, we must think.
Yes.
It's no longer that situation where family, was the way that elders were there to guide the young. Listening to you, we have the constitution, we have legislation, we have ADAPT and Africa Ekalafe and many other projects, Sonke and so on, that are working with men. But there's something that is not changing. As you correctly say, the issues that they are raising are still there. They even manifest in boys who are young. What is it that we need to do as a society?
Another thing is self acceptance. It's a big thing as well, because if you accept yourself and accept I don't have 1, 2, 3, instead of competing no neighbor wako, then that thing could alleviate at least the element of violent towards each other and be jealous, because the element of jealous now is there, because the minute utiruna something when I don't have it, when I said I don't know what you told us, but that element of self-acceptance, we need to accept and work towards achieve whatever that you need to achieve. That right. Just self-acceptance. That's the first step. You accept. This is me.
What happens then when a woman says no to you and you leave, and then Baro is Shiman?
No, it's fine.
You should have done something.
No, it's me.
Yeah.
I think the reason at the same time we are here, Singapore, because we're trying to change the tide. Singapore is full of what isn't right. We are trying to susalo wrong. ukuthi kube right.
Okay.
Wena sen ukuba ubhari ngesikhathi kusihelpile esikhathi esiningi ngawasikho if besingabo clever ngawasikho khona manje.
Right.
Wena sen
Right.
self acceptance Matsilo leads to self love.
Okay.
Wena sen and self respect. You cannot respect omunye umuntu ungazi respect. Wena sen no umuntu ekirespect you won't understand ukuthi uyakurespect because awunayo that respect for yourself.
Right.
Wena sen
I'll start with the system that it's been put around ourselves as human beings, because most of our time we find ourselves under pressure. The pressure that we have from our families, from the society itself. Again, the society, so on. How about Shebile? They look at you because of your smart. The smartness transfers everybody. They look at you as a leader. You need to show. You don't need to be weak. You have to be strong, and being strong, people define strong in a different way. I feel it should be part of the system of education for me, because of the biggest problem. Bible adapt power in everybody, but I do the school because of this thing.
It's extracurricular.
Yeah, it's an extracurricular.
Yeah.
I think it needs to be there, that it would change the mental of men, because of currently it's a different world than school. School they teach you it's for that period of hour or so. However, it's a different story. Completely you meet hot man,
And there's also bullying as well.
But because of they'll tell you this is you nonsense. Weak. Now with that it changed the mindset of Shimano. For now these are the things we need to work on, especially system structures system. We need to work on it.
Sometimes you ask yourself, there's a sister who kile kam data, one day you kill or one day you feel katla konna on kam riri on sharp starting everybody in Sanshebile ing.
It's true.
But that's been a cycle. Na unagana yang wena like unagana so na aka raise wa jwalo na itlampalla ntwe batlang ra wena mapora.
I want to start at a higher level, the level of political leaders. I wrote the book Kanga in the Kangaroo Court, which was a reflection of the rape trial of Jacob Zuma. And at the political level, if a man forces himself on a woman, whether you go running or they do it because they can. And also, just reflecting on the notion here, when we talk about the manipulation, am I right to say that there isn't a single man who can say that I've never raped? Would I be pushing if we think about the reflection of what we have been discussing? How would you feel if I say that?
I think you'd be pushing. I think you'd be pushing. I think the reason why I'm saying that, Matsil, is that there are men, there are good men within our society. Back then, you mentioned something about being raised by your father.
Yeah.
There are a number of people who were raised by men who are portraying behaviors that are positive, who never manipulated, who were, the authentic masculinity. It's something that they understood.
So masculinity is not by definition toxic.
Yes.
This is what you're saying.
Yes. That's the authentic one. This is the man who doesn't judge. This is the man who would listen, who respect other people's opinion, being motwamme, being motwantate, who treat people as equal. The sad part about these issues, and maybe going back to looking at politicians, influencers, these are people that are actually influencing number of personalities that are taking place within our community. And politicians, they manipulate, they use their power to control people. sometimes they don't have certain resources because they are in control of certain things. They use them to manipulate other people, which is quite sad. It goes back to number of influences that we have, whether being a celebrity or who. Sometimes these are people, I strongly believe they need to be reminded of the position because these are people that are looked up to. These are people, a number of people that are replicating behaviors. These people, they put them in place. So how they behave, they need to be intentional. Understanding they are not doing that alone. They are doing that shaping personalities to a number of people. Language current. Followers. These are people who are following them. When you follow someone, you follow that particular person because you like that particular person, oftentimes. And hangata, you would replicate into hence you would even hear young people using same terminologies oftentimes what the case, because they are copying and replicating number of things. I always say behavior is language. Oftentimes you say something and your behavior tend to be in line. This is what these young people are doing. They will listen to you, they would say it, and their behavior should replicate. And these are the things that only the politician. They are happening even from us. They are happening from how they are raised. Things their parents are doing them, they are saying them, they are replicating them. Hence we are seeing the dysfunctional, communities. It's mainly because of number of things that dominate within our community. You ask a question of what is it that needs to be done in addressing the issue. Lot needs to be done. One, we need to heal. These are the spaces that we need to have. We need to create more spaces such as these ones. We need to have such conversations. These are the conversations that they help us as men to ensure that new language tend to be introduced. It's override that negative language. Alexander exposed to this particular language.
To battle. It was a battleground.
It was a battleground. And at the same time, we also need to understand that we can unlearn these negative behaviors. We are capable as people to unlearn these negative behaviors. When these healing spaces dealing at, they help us to learn, because there's a lot they were instilled when we grew up, and we need to unlearn them. We need to ensure new language. We need to deal with our emotions, because oftentimes we're reflecting how we feel as people. We need to be in a space where we are reminded or we are in control of our life.
Sure.
We can only control ourselves. I can control I'm not in control of that, but I'm in control of the choices, the stuff that I say, the behavior that I put in place. We don't have to dictate. We don't have to practice power and control over my Baba. I think these are the things that I strongly believe the issue of GBV, femicide, rape, if we tend to understand and master who we are.
Exactly.
One other thing I would want to say as well, let's keep on highlighting even positive stories, because there are positive men within our communities, but oftentimes we don't celebrate them. We don't give people positive recognition. Let's dwell much and ensure we tap into positive behaviors, because I strongly believe that the more the positivity highlight you, we'll be able to bond. That's all. A mind becomes a creature of repetition. A mind will never resist something it's regularly represented before it. When young people are raised in an environment positive behaviors, they will definitely bond with them. They will form part and parcel of the personality. Let's keep on highlighting these positive behaviors.
Right. Okay. I want to bring this to a conclusion and share a lesson that I learned that time because all of you, except for when I'm Mike, who they never acted before, right? And one of the things that Sello said, which I carry a lot of the time, is that when you are working with, when you are a director and you are working with an actor, and an actor gives you 3% of what you want, do you focus on the 3% or demand the 97% that's not there? So essentially what I hear you say is that we should grow the 3%.
Yeah.
We shouldn't focus, yes, the 97% is there, but there's a 3% that is coming out. So therefore, as directors, as Shakespeare says, the world is a stage,
Yes.
and we are all actors, right? As we recreate these roles that we play on the stage, we should grow the 3%. We are both actors and directors at the same time. That you direct yourself. And also to say, leadership without personal mastery is not leadership. You cannot be a leader if you can't exhibit personal mastery. So conversation with you, Gajeko, gives me hope. Because I always say that if we lose hope, that's the end.
That's the end.
Even when the material conditions are not changing, because the material conditions in Alex are staying the same. Poverty is even getting worse. More and more people are living in an appalling situation. And our leaders subject us to the worst form of violence, which is corruption. Because when you engage in corruption, you are the worst kind, of perpetrator. That's when that name suits you. Because when you take from resources that are meant to create a better life for people, and you take not because you need that, you take because of greed, you are violent. You are a perpetrator. So the worst kind of violence that we experience in this country is corruption by our leaders. So, but we can't say, okay, let's wait for them to change. We start with ourselves.
Yes.
We start from where we are.
Oh